Google girls' toys and shades of pink will fill your computer screen. Each image depicts something that girls stereotypically enjoy: makeup, baby dolls, doll houses, and pink things galore. Google boys' toys and shades of green, red, or blue will fill your computer screen. Each image depicts something that boys stereotypically enjoy: trucks, cars, guns, tanks, action figures, and toys depicting blue-collar work, like garbage collectors and construction workers. Boys wear blue, keep their hair short, play with aliens and die-cast toy cars, and want to be astronauts and race car drivers. Girls wear pink, have long hair, play with dolls and makeup, and want to be princesses and caretakers. Toys emphasized at a female audience emphasize stereotypically feminine colors. Toys marketed at a male audience place emphasis on stereotypically masculine colors. But where did these stereotypes originate? Why do boys wear blue and girls wear pink? According to Jo B. Paoletti in her book Pink and Blue, Telling the Boys from the Girls in America, during the Victorian era, male and female children wore white, and clothing color was not an identifier of a child's gender. It wasn't until the first half of the 20th century that rules of clothing color began to form, but even then, those rules were loose. Some people even saw blue as a girl's color due to its association with the Virgin Mary. Even then, clothing color often had nothing to do with gender. Before the advent of ultrasound technology, parents purchased neutral colors when preparing for a new baby. But by the 1950s, pink had firmly become associated with girls, but wasn't considered only a girl's color, and boys still wore it. As late as the 1970s, the gendering of colors was not especially prevalent in the toy market. According to Paoletti, from 1965 to 1968, pink was so strongly associated with traditional femininity that feminist parents avoided dressing their daughters in pink. At the height of the trend of avoidance in the 1970s, Sears carried no pink clothing for toddlers and only a few pink items for babies. Paoletti offered up her theory that the ultrasound played a part in the formation of pink and blue as boys' and girls' colors. Because after the invention of the ultrasound, parents knew the gender of their children, and brands could market objects to them that aligned with the gender of their baby. Following the idea that brands profit from the gender typing of toys, Paoletti states that between the ages of around 3 to 5, children begin to understand what gender is. Children know that they are a boy or a girl, and that is a vital part of their identity. But they do not understand the permanence of their identity. They believe that girls that cut their hair are boys, and boys who wear dresses are girls. So if you market gender-type toys to them, they will pick the one that aligns with their identity. Another of the motives for the gendering of toys is that you cannot pass objects that are clearly for female or male children onto opposite-sex siblings. When the market makes a difference between male and female toys, children obviously want to have the one that aligns with their identity, which requires parents to go out and purchase a more suitable product for their child. According to Common Sense Media, brands want children to develop a preference for gendered toys sooner rather than later. The faster that your child recognizes the existence of boys' toys or girls' toys, the sooner they will want to purchase one. Children's preferences for either girls' or boys' toys creates an opening for brands to sell more toys that fit within the specific gender norms. Brands appeal to the vulnerabilities of youth, the desire to be a part of the in crowd, to receive desired romantic attention, and to be seen as cool. Children, especially teens, are hyper-aware of the hierarchy within their social groups, and brands advertise in a way that appeals to children and teens by giving them a catalog of what is trendy and acceptable. Here's a little toy history for you. According to Elizabeth Sweet, in a 1905 toy catalog, there were no explicitly gendered toys. Even dolls, which brands have arguably always marketed toward a female audience, were advertised in a more neutral manner, some dolls even being seemingly designed and displayed for young boys. In 1915, dolls were more clearly marketed at girls, and had developed more feminine characteristics than dolls from 1905. Here in 1915, we see the emergence of household chore toys, like toy stoves and irons for girls, and toy guns, model kits, and tool sets being marketed toward an audience of young boys. However, brands still advertise the bulk of toys in the catalog in a gender-neutral fashion. Continuing with the information that I obtained from Elizabeth Sweet's research, by the mid-century, the majority of dolls were explicitly marketed towards girls, along with most household chore toys. Fewer toys were marketed expressly towards boys, some guns and some trucks. Nevertheless, clear gender divisions had emerged with the presence of occupational toys, such as doctors' and nurses' kits, present in a commercial from 1945. By 1965, we see the appearance of the stereotypical domestic and passive girls' toys. Girls' toys are dedicated to household husbandry, family management, and child rearing. Contrastingly, we see the presence of the stereotypically masculine trait of logic, aggression, and scientific pursuits in boys' toys. Sweet reports that one catalog bears the tagline, "Sears knows what girls want," on one page, and another page, "Dolls daintily dressed in parfait colors." Sweet notes that the kitchen playset seems to be explicitly for girls. The girls' dress-up clothing has themes of romantic pursuit. The science section is marketed towards boys. Toys for young children, however, appear to be still gender neutral. In 1975, the gender roles broadened and the all-around gendering of toys has plateaued. There are seemingly fewer toys that are explicitly marketed toward female children or male children. However, there is still gendering present in the coloring choices or the type of language utilized in the advertisements. However, this is the first time that Sweet notices images of boys playing with kitchen playsets and girls playing with construction sets. In 1985, the trends that we were beginning to see in 1975 were becoming more prevalent. Boys are being depicted in the kitchen and with toy vacuums. Sweet notes that this is the first time boys have been shown playing with dolls. For girls, we see action figures like She-Ra that are feminine and more adventurous. Also, there is less separation of the girls' and boys' toys, and more integration of boys' and girls' toys in the catalog. Also, Sweet notes that the clothing has become more gender neutral than it previously was. Sweet also notices that by 1985, most of the toys offered in the Sears Wish book were branded, whereas that was less prevalent in previous years. Many of the toys are movie or TV advertisements themselves. Sweet states that in 1984, deregulation removed the barriers that prevent children's programming from selling products. So the hyperprevalence of branded toys is a likely result of the deregulation. By the end of the 20th century, the push for gender neutrality in toys was waning. The 1995 Holiday Wish book had images depicting boys in the kitchen and girls doing science. The color pink as an identifier for girls' toys was highly prevalent. Toy sets were being offered in separate versions for boys and girls. Some toys were explicitly stated to be for a particular gender. Many toys utilized colors, specific models, and wording in the advertisements to market their toys for a particular gender subtly. For instance, few male children would want fairy tale princess merchandise. My mother paints this picture to describe her time attending Cardinal Spellman in 1984, a Roman Catholic high school built in September in 1959, 34 years after the high school was built. She tells me of how the art, English literature, home economics, health, and music courses were housed on one side of the school, where the female bathrooms were built. This side of the school was also where the ovens for home economics were built. On the opposite side of the school, where all the science, technology, engineering, and math, otherwise known as STEM, courses could be attended, was where the male bathrooms were, and where the eye wash stations and gas lines for Bunsen burners were built, which were necessary for the science courses, making it difficult to relocate. According to cardinalspellman.org, the school began with a co-institutional model, meaning that there were separate educational programs for male and female students. Nuns educated the female students, and priests educated the male students. The two academic departments even had different principals. It wasn't until the early 70s that the school became co-ed, and changes were made to the faculty and administration. While I understand that the school was initially built to separate the student body and provide them with different educations, it is hard to imagine a situation in which this did not have some impact on the choices available to the student body after the school became co-ed. If children were being subjected to gender division even in their schools, you could imagine the impact of reinforcing those stereotypes in the home with toys and toy commercials. Speaking of toy commercials, if you paid attention to popular advertisements, girls had to be interested in makeup, child rearing, and homemaking, because those were the kinds of toys that included them as a focal point. Even when the commercials branched out of the stereotypical domestic roles of wife and homemaker and into the more STEM-focused scientist and inventor, the toy kits were still made to be stereotypically feminine. Boys got to make slime and volcano eruptions. In contrast, girls got to make perfume and bath bombs. Legos, which are still, arguably, considered a stereotypically masculine toy, and most definitely still considered a male hobby, broke into the girls' toy section in Walmart with the release of the Lego Friends build sets and figurines, which are very reminiscent of Barbie and her dollhouse, and the femininity that she represented in her extremely pink representation. These Lego Friends pieces came in lime green, yellow, purple, pink, and light blue. There were no boys on the purple boxes, and it also received a web series featuring the female cast going on adventures. Contrastingly, Easy Bake Oven producer Hasbro attempted to break into the boys' toy section with a 2002 Queasy Bake Cookerator, a masculine and distinctly purple and green version of the Easy Bake Oven. It was marketed with the tagline, "Create gross-looking, great-tasting snacks with a magical surprise." One of the food packs was named Mud and Crud Cake, and that would turn your tongue green. And another, Dip and Drool Dog Bones, came with foaming drool. The refill food packs were called Sewer Sludge Shake, Blend a Booger Drink, Fizz and Foam Alien Drink, and Swamp Snack. There were no young girls in the commercial, and Hasbro advertised the food as looking gross and tasting great. Even when boys and girls got advertised toys that didn't fit into the usual female role or male role, they were still subject to and presented in a stereotypical fashion, and made to conform to stereotypical ideas of masculinity and femininity. The most troubling revelation out of all this is that of MP for Newcastle upon Tyne Central, Chi Onroy, who argues that if girls are constantly sent a message by the media that there is no place for them in STEM and construction, the division between what kinds of careers children pursue is unlikely to improve. Her belief is in agreement with the view that gender-typed children's toys limit potential. Chi Anra, who has worked decades in the engineering field, states that toys are so important and formative. This is about the jobs of the future, about what happens in 10 or 15 years' time. We can't go on with a segregated society. Anra believes that gender-typed toys are creating a grievous economic issue. Toys and toy advertisements that focus on a strict division of gender roles and place emphasis on the perceived differences between boys and girls may compel children to question their capabilities and desires, which limits the potential for them to branch out into different fields because they are not seeing themselves reflected in the media or in their playtime as capable of performing roles that exist outside their domain of either masculinity or femininity. Between the advertisements and the gender divisions within toy aisles, there are limitations on what children believe they are capable of achieving. For example, most professional chefs are men. However, we still have people who disagree with the idea of male children playing with kitchen playsets because being in the kitchen is still widely believed to be a female role. These toy sets are also widely advertised towards a female audience. In this way, toy advertisements can reinforce limiting beliefs. Referencing material from The Guardian's Kira Coltrane, Fight Back Against Gendered Toys, Common Sense Media's What's the Impact of Advertising on Kids, The Conversation's Megan K. Mass, How Toys Became Gendered, and New Dreams Elizabeth Sweet, The Gendering of Our Kids' Toys, and What Can We Do About It?